I know the ASA are here, and that is misleading advertising. That was that was taken when I worked at Mediacom. So hi to Paul. And I promise I'm over 18 when that was taken. They don't hire children. Um, anyway, let's crack on. Yes, this is going to be about AI, and I can't believe nearly half or over half a conference has gone by without someone talking about AI already. A little bit about me. I worked at Saatchi & Saatchi, so hi there, Sarah. Mediacom, and 4 departments in government, including the last one, the Department of Business and Trade, which is where I am now. I am the Assistant Director for Professional and Business Services. I lead on advertising, market research, PR, and a couple of others. I'm responsible for engagement and providing policy advice on behalf of the department. What are we talking about today? I'm going to give you a little overview of professional and business services, what we do, AI's impact on advertising. That's underscored there by the picture on the right, which is 2 men having dinner. And then I'm going to talk about the AI upskilling fund and how you can get involved in that. So, and I apologise to everyone in the room. Professional and business services lumps in advertising with accountants. So it's only for statistical purposes that we do this, and your similar sectors. It's a powerhouse. 277 billion pounds of GVA is nothing to sniff at. 5 million jobs in 2022. We're revising our data pack over the next couple of months, so these figures will be revised. But it's basically the PBS sector is one of the biggest success stories in the UK economy, but it has a challenge. So the sector has high and growing volumes of skills vacancies and gaps. So there are 102,000 skills shortage vacancies. That's when you're looking to hire someone and people in the job market simply don't have the skills to fill that vacancy. This is combined with the fact that employers report, this is in the employer skills survey, so this is employers telling government in a very 70,000 people in the sample. These employers report that they are spending less per head on training, and they are providing less training versus 2017. This is going to be compounded by the forecast overall increase in employment. So as employment goes up, the number of vacancies is going to increase naturally. So that's the skills issue, and that plays into the impact of AI on advertising. So I'm going to show you a report that the Department for Education designed. It's based on methodology used in Princeton. It matches the kind of tasks that are done by certain jobs with the kind of tasks that AI can do, and looks at kind of the overlap and therefore the exposure of certain professions to AI. And that's the Unit for Future Skills that have produced this. So they've done that matching of, I think it's 50 different types of tasks, and they've produced an AI occupational exposure index. So occupations are ranked relative to one another. Please treat this with caution, because this is a methodology that's only been tried a couple of times, but it's broadly indicative, and I think it will chime with people's common sense. And according to this analysis, advertising is a highly exposed sector. So I've mentioned the uncertainty. I also want to clarify that exposure doesn't necessarily mean substitution. It can be, but it can also be augmentation. What this means is advertising may see some substitution, but there's also a chance that AI can rapidly increase your productivity and what you can get out of your job by giving over some tasks to AI and then focusing on tasks where the human adds the most value. I often cite this. So South Korea has the highest proportion of robots per 10,000 workers. So it's just over 1,000 robots per 10,000 worker in the workplace. The EU average is 150, and South Korea has an unemployment rate of 3%, which is in line with most modern economies. So it's not that it's not necessarily that technology, robots, AI result in mass human layoffs. Just really quickly, the red arrows point to advertising, market research, PR professions that are included in the top 20 most exposed professions. So all applications is on the left, and large language modeling is on the right. Clergy's in there, which is quite funny. And then, so that's by types of profession, and this is by degree of skill. So these are DFE skill levels. So level 1 is compulsory education, and they get progressively higher skill up until the box. So the red area there, which is the red arrow, is again helpfully telling you where you are. That's higher education, so graduates and graduate equivalent work experience, which is where advertising is. So you can see that by both skill level and by profession, advertising is quite highly exposed. So you're probably wondering, so tell me, slightly Amish-looking civil servant, what is the government doing about this? So DCIT actually pioneered this AI upskilling fund pilot. It's a pilot fund, so there's £6.4 million of grant funding available. It's matched funding, so you apply for a bit of training for a certain number of your employees, and you'll receive 50% of the cost of that up to a certain threshold after the training is complete. You have to be an SME in the professional and business services sector, which I've told you you're already in. I've worked in the PBS team in government for 3.5 years. This is the first bespoke program for PBS. There's a lot of cross-cutting things, which I'm really grateful for, but this is just for us. So I consider this a really big deal, and that's why I'm here and look vaguely excited about it. Applications are open. Bear in mind they close on the 31st of May. Training must be completed and requests for grant payment must be submitted by February 2025, and the application process is competitive, so bids have to be above a certain standard. In terms of funding available, for some reason the department uses a euro figure for balance sheets. That's not a typo. But yes, I'm hoping there are some businesses that are relevant in the room that fall under that meet these categories, and you can see that there's up to £10,000 match funding for the mediums, and that entitles you to spend that on £20,000 worth of AI AI training. So, what is eligible? So to be eligible, the training must relate to core AI skills. Now, DCIT will probably take quite a broad view of what AI skills are, including kind of AI precursor skills like data analysis, data organization, because they do want a lot of firms to be taking advantage of this. There's timing, so the program that you're intending to send employees on has to start after July 2024. Has to be delivered by an eligible training provider. So the AA, for example, is an eligible training provider. There's more details about what is eligible and what isn't on gov.uk. Not already subsidised by government for employers, so that might be something like a skills bootcamp program, and it must not be delivered by your own company to your own employees. How do you apply? Applications are already open. If you go to the Find a Grant website, you can find this and you can make an application. The idea is for it to be as simple as possible. We know how resource and time constrained SMEs can be, so we've tried to design a process that can be completed in under an hour. In terms of timeline, we're here. Market engagement, that's what we're doing now. The grant is launched and project delivery is up to March 2025. The evaluation period, so the fundamental reason we're doing this is to boost productivity, to unlock the power of AI to increase productivity, which means we're going to be looking at worker and firm level productivity up through till 2027. So firms that take part are going to be evaluated in terms of how productive they have been up to 2027. So as I said, applications are now open. Go to the Find a Grant website. You can find out more information on gov.uk. You can also email me or Cabinet Office around Find a Grant, the Find a Grant website, and there are other things to take advantage of. So we've got Bridge AI, which is it's a platform that brings together events, tools, resources to help you get the most out of AI. The DCIT AI Workplace Guidance. National Skills Bootcamps. So bootcamps, for anyone who isn't aware, there were 713 on the website when I checked this morning because I do my homework. And they change from cohort to cohort, but we are responding to the demand for AI skills. So there's going to be ever more boot camps that address AI from now on. you can engage with the PBS Council, Professional Business Services Council, or actually the Creative Industries Council. Stephen is your representative on both those councils. He does a very good job. He was there yesterday, and he was championing everyone in this room. And you can also engage with me or my team. We have a newsletter that runs every week. So, for example, something that we included this week, we had, so my department struck a memorandum of understanding with Florida, and that allows us to take part in their procurement frameworks. So they've just issued a tender for a 3-year full suite advertising contract, including PR. So we've notified readers of that bulletin that that's there, and I encourage you to go apply, take a shot, because the UK has, I think, especially pound for pound, the best advertising sector in the world, and we can compete on cost really well with the US. So take advantage of that, and you can engage with me about AI or anything else. I've worked with a lot of people in this room on a load of other things, and that's really my pitch to you. I don't think I've got any time for questions now, but I will be milling about, and just grab me, and I can answer any questions that you have, or talk about anything else that you want to talk about.
Miles, thank you. Round of applause for Miles. Thank you. Okay, next up, I'd like to welcome Paul Cooper, the Chief Operating Officer, North Group at EssenceMediacom UK, to give his presentation and continue the discussion on AI.
Thank you. Am I on? Thanks very much. That was brilliant, Miles. I'll try not to break the lectern before I start. So hi, I'm Paul Cooper, for those who don't know me, Chief Operating Officer for EssenceMediacom North Group, and I want to talk to you today about kind of how we're using AI, the tools we've built, and the actual practical application. Not what it could do in the future, not what it might be able to do, but how we're actually using it now and how it's transforming our day-to-day business in a very, very short space of time. And I've dragged a couple of the people along who I'll introduce you to later, have been the kind of driving force behind that. So very quickly before we go on, this isn't an ad for us, because no one's really going to buy anything in the room from us, but it's kind of really important because we've always, yes, we operate in a city that I think Manchester has been known for its kind of its disruption, more .coms than any other part of the UK, the birthplace of the first kind of storable memory computer, all sorts of different things. And I think for us as a business, we've always been predominantly digital first. So we've worked at the cusp of the forefront of kind of digital products and services in advertising and media. And most of our clients are predominantly .com. So we kind of work in that disruptive area where we've got a workforce that are constantly looking at how can we do this differently? How can we do this better? How can we kind of really, I suppose, punch above our weight? And that's in our DNA as well, trying to build a kind of, we want to be the best in the world at what we do, and doing that without outside of London, you do have to punch above your weight. We've got the best advertising kind of, I agree, the best advertising industry in the world, and London's been at the heart of that for a long time. So to have a thriving business in Manchester, you really do have to offer something different. So that's been the route that we've gone down, and that kind of differentiation is kind of at our core and the core to our success. So, our AI journey started in earnest with generative AI about kind of 18 months ago, but really it's been going on for 4 or 5 years. Less generative AI, but more machine learning, evolving into kind of more, particularly within platforms, within Google's platforms, Facebook platforms, etc. If we look at the evolution of search over the past decade or so, you've gone from hands-on in platform, actually manipulating Google's algorithm, to actually really becoming pilots of their software, understanding how best to use their software, understanding how to get data within those platforms, and how to stop fighting the machine and work with the machine, for want of a better word. So those have been the early days. I think when you look at, this is kind of the first to reach 100 million users. And if we look at, it took ChatGPT, I think it was 2 months to reach 100 million users, and this chart's already out of date. So I think when we look at the general kind of disruption it is going to have on the way in which we work, it's going to be phenomenal, probably bigger than most things we've seen. However, I planned and bought my first digital media campaign in 1998, and I know 2 things, which is it always happens far, far, far slower than we think it's going to happen. because we're there and we're at the call friends, but it always happens far faster than we're prepared for. So those two, so those two things never cease to amaze me. But I think this is really important with the speed in which it's going to go. And I think this next one, sorry, Kenny and Louis, this was a meeting of minds, and I think it's really important. It is still, it's a people business, and AI cannot take the place of creativity. And I think the key thing to kind of give a shout out to these two is that, a meeting of Louis was the founder of a business we bought a number of years ago, Code. It's a UX platforming business. So he's a creative at heart. Married, sorry, work married to to Kenny, who's managing director of our media activation. So has spent the last kind of several years really in detail of how do we use machine learning and how do we our processes within media activation, etc. So a lot of this has really been about an understanding of that, and then the people that they've taken along the journey, and then so enough about the people and what they've actually created. I've just realised there's something down here I can look at as well. It kind of we've got four buckets in terms of recognising the potential. We've heard a lot about efficiency. And I think we work in an industry where kind of margins are quite tight. Clients always want more efficiency from us, understandably. Inflation's going up, but people want to pay less for those services. So we kind of sat there in the middle, have to look at how we kind of evolve those business models, and efficiency is always at the forefront of everyone. And I think particularly in digital activation, we've looked at how do you kind of codify, for want of a better word, those campaigns? And the answer is you can't before AI. You can only get so far, but no one campaign's the same. So everyone kind of falls down when they get to that bracket. But I think we've got something here that is going to make a big difference. Capability is another. And we talk a lot about kind of fast tracking capability and guardrails, or raising the floor, for want of a better word, if I can say that properly. Because someone said earlier, and I completely agree, AI is a big thing that kind of sits in the middle, so it's not going to massively differentiate you as such. But if you can take away you can put guardrails around people and raise the floor, you can then start to kind of give more autonomy and let more junior people kind of be more creative and actually have more of a say in what they're doing within the organisations, because you're putting parameters around them. So things that maybe a small thing like writing a piece of search ad copy, you might not let a junior kind of assistant do. But in the first pass in these days, with the guardrails that are put around it, that's absolutely no problem before it's Q&A'd and before it's put live. Creativity, I think in terms of expanding your thinking, we'll show you one of the tools that we've got later around. It doesn't replace creativity. It helps you stimulate, almost like the perfect workshop, a way of thinking, a way of drawing out ideas, a way of pulling different people together as well. And experience is the last one. I think this is probably for me one of the biggest potentials, because you can take all of the experience you've got across the organisation and put it into something that's really, really accessible, that you can talk to, that you can ask questions of, that can be conversational. So in terms of training people, and I think if you're going to then fast forward for what that might mean in school environments, going off piece there, but I was really inspired at that last session, because I sit on a board that Andy Burnham set up, the Employee Engagement Board, to really make a difference in terms of how we're bringing non-university education people into the industry. So I'll do a plug for that later, because I've already gathered a few people for a meeting next week. Ewan and Jason, you're two of them. So I'll come on to that. And in terms of the barriers, because there's always barriers, anything new, there's always lots and lots of barriers, and that. I just want to kind of share some of the things in which we've been doing, understanding. And Kenny and Lou will laugh at this, because I was even though I've been doing digital marketing for the best part of quarter of a century, I was in the first one when they started 18 months ago, and they were starting putting loads of time into this, and I kept reminding them they both had day jobs. But and that was me at the top of the organisation, someone who's fully bought into developmental change. So understanding it, fear of it, is it going to take over my job? Is it going to not work? Is it going to mean that we don't have a USP? Those are all really key barriers to be overcome, easily overcome, to be fair. Skill sets as well, actually, it's a whole new language. It's a whole new way of kind of operating with data and technology. That we're only just starting to understand and get used to, and then having tool sets to build them. And I think that middle one, I came off a call this morning with WPP's kind of global head of AI, and very much the programmer that sits underneath it is pretty straightforward. It's the thinking that actually sets out apart the good ones from the not so good ones, and that has to come from human beings. It's not particularly, sorry Louis, it's not particularly code heavy. It's not complicated from a code perspective. It's the thinking of how it operates and how users engage with it that's really important. And then this one, I think this is true for most things in our agency, but particularly in the digital parts of our agency. It's top down and kind of bottom up to change behaviours and kind of and build something that's market leading and new. So if we look at the top down thing, so the more senior people in the organisation, the more experienced people, you're looking at setting the strategy, putting a steering team together, managing the prompt engineering so that's a bit more tightly controlled. So you're not, it's like kids with matchbox matches. You've got to be careful that you take it, but you don't just put it live. And generative technology, because obviously there's significant kind of data ramifications around making sure that all our clients' data are housed in systems that can't learn from one another. One client doesn't want to be training a model from another client. Google get away with that across the board, but we're not Google. I don't think our clients are like us do that. Some are okay with it. It's different levels of data that can be shared within those walls, and that's something that's evolving. And then the bottom up is the really interesting stuff, because this is where it really starts to evolve. And it really starts to kind of iterate on a constant basis. So, we've got hackathon champions across the agency, share and combine knowledge, identify pilot projects, and I've nearly said decriminalise then, democratise. The technology, so making sure that we've got kind of trained people, but everybody's using it as much as possible. So you'll kind of say, what is all this laddering up to? It's laddering up to something that we want to provide frictionless AI across every discipline, across every function. So we built something called EssenceMediacom Sidekick, EM Sidekick. It was called Sidekick because it's the human sidekick. It's not taking the place of the human. I'll play a little video now because that's what it's kind of been building up to. You're like, what are you on about? What are you actually going to show us? And then I'll just take you through a few slides of what it means, how it works, and where the evolution is.
I have a dream.
So in terms of what does it look like when it's not in a video, it's a desktop application. that I've got some stats coming up, but it's used in over 50 countries at this point in time, across EssenceMediacom, and being scaled out across Group M, and being about to be included in WPP's open platform. And essentially, you've got, as we talked about, chat assistants, the AI templates tool, the image generation, code generation, embedded knowledge, and memories and personalization, so it can remember certain people when they go in and use it. And what is it that I use? What do I tend to like? What do I not like? What type of client, style of voice? All of those different things it can kind of learn from as well, which is pretty phenomenal. We've got over 200 templates, so what we tend to do is, and I'll show you how we build those templates in a minute, the templates are created, these are the guardrails that we talked about, so we're not just letting everyone say, there's some AI, just do with it what you want. It's kind of pre-descriptive templates that you can drag and drop and use for specific problems, specific channels, whether it be audience generation, whether it be creative, whether it be ideation, in planning environments. They're kind of across the board, and I'll show you some of the workshopping and kind of operations mapping we've done to identify where those templates come from. We've also created one of my favourites, 20 kind of specialist chat assistants. I've noticed, Louis, that the Agile coach looks quite a bit like you, but maybe a bit more like George. You and George Clooney crossed. And this, for me, is the really powerful bit where you can condense all the knowledge of the specialisms. We've got 400 odd people in our Manchester campus. It's the third largest in Europe for EssenceMediacom. So we've got a lot of specialists there, whether it be in data or technology, etc. So it could be as simple as kind of asking those questions rather than going finding our head of kind of data activation, asking a quick question, which is, what are the big 5 barriers to implementing consent mode, so I can just actually figure that out and have a conversation with the client, take it to a different kind of stage of conversation, and then engage you when there's a conversation to have, rather than just you asking questions back and forth. And you can see that whether it's feedback coaches. So we're a little thing that was actually one of the most highly used is at the end of year, you take everyone's kind of reviews. Some people might have 20 or so documents to review from one individual. You can put them into the feedback coach, and it'll give you a good understanding and kind of a synopsis of what everyone said, and put it into kind of 2 or 3 pages. Obviously, you need to read everything and then condense it down, but it's a good assistant and it's a good tool to do that. And you can say so on and so forth. I like the Robo SEO, which is a lot of the technical knowledge from our SEO team condensed into that chatbot. So again, you can kind of start asking those questions again. So that, I think, is just going to be something that helps scale our knowledge and democratize that knowledge really quickly and really easily, but it's highly controllable because we're controlling the information we're putting in it, and we're making sure the information is 100% accurate. It's not available on the open web. It's not going out to the open web to find this information. It's just information that we have put in it, based on our experts. It's also got global scale, operates in 50 plus languages, and I think as we work in more and more of a global kind of economy, it's really good and easy to be able to change those languages on quite frequent and quite easily without having teams of people. And then in terms of its usage, we're up to just over 4,000 registered users across 53 countries, 880 kind of actual active users per month. And this is kind of in soft phases. This is whilst we're still testing it, we're still rolling it out. Over 25,000 image created, 14 million AI generated words, and an 18% active user base. So what we're tending to find is that we've got a lot of people that are using it, and a small amount of people that are using it quite consistently and quite a lot. So that's really encouraging, because we want those champions to really learn it and understand it before absolutely everybody does. So that's absolutely fine. So that's the kind of Instagram. And the Instagram versus reality, there's a lot of work that sits behind it to figure out what actually goes into those. So if, you know, the teams predominantly led by kind of Kenny and Louis will take, is this data and tech team, Louis? Analytics and insight, yeah. So analytics and insight, take all the kind of leaders from that team, spend a morning workshopping what is it that everybody does on a kind of a daily basis, map them out across the different tasks. Each sticky note is a different task. So that's something that a human has to perform for every client, for everything in which we do. And then essentially, the red one, the red little stickers, is where we've built a template. So you can see we're only a fraction of the way through even that first phase. And each one of those red circles turns into a template that then can be put in the system, and anyone can use that template. And then from an adoption perspective, I think we've done a significant amount of kind of road shows. I think we talked about, you know, the getting everyone to use it. It really polarizes opinion. Lots of people are scared of it until they get into it and realize that it's just another set of technology, incredibly intelligent technology that can work much faster than anything we've seen in the past. But yet again, another piece of technology that we need to learn. I think if you just said 15 years ago, before iPhones were kind of prevalent as they are, that our entire lives would be through one small device that never leaves your hand, we'd probably be quite sceptical at that point 15 years ago. I don't know how many years we talked about the year of mobile before it literally took over everybody's life. And there is a constant need to engagement. The hackathons, the training sessions, democratise it, get everybody involved. I think the key learning is if people co-author something, then they feel invested in it and they work with it, and it becomes something that they champion rather than feel is being done unto them. And in terms of the kind of scaling up, keeping up, it changes on a daily basis. So it's kind of like painting the Forth Bridge. It's never going to be done. It is something that is just going to be ongoing and ongoing and ongoing. There's no start, there's no finish. It's just something that is and is constant. Training everybody consistently and training them again, and don't think it's just done once, because then new templates come out, iterations come out, we change the way in which we use it. And delegation, empowering people all around the business to use it as much as possible, and then get their teams using it as much as possible. Those are kind of the three key things for making it a reality. And future of what's next, I like the first one, people first AI, because that's, you know, we really as an industry and us as an organisation, a set of people, it's not replacing people. It can't replace people. It'll never replace people in this particular industry. It can replace tasks, and it can replace parts of people's jobs, but it can't replace people's jobs. What it can do is take away the kind of almost the I don't want to say mundane, but I want to say the less interesting parts of the job, and kind of deliver that from a more automated perspective, and leave time for creativity, leave time for the bits that the humans can only do. The future workforce, which is something that I'm really quite interested and passionate about, when you've got, you know, we've spent most of our lives learning the answer to the question. Well, when you've got those kind of experts in the room, what does that mean for how we train our people and also our education system, when ultimately we need to teach people to ask the questions, not just learn the answer to the question? I think a big part of that is in the bottom up, and the way in which we kind of evolve as an agency and as an industry, and making sure that we kind of, here we go, I was looking at the wrong slide there. I've mixed two on there. Apologies. I think we've covered this one, and that was the one I was talking about, sorry, in terms of finally the future workforce we've covered. I couldn't get one in, but be the home of innovation. I need another plug for Manchester. I was going to put a Made in Manchester badge on that, but we sent it across to you before I could get round to it. But I think, you know, that's really important to us in terms of working with our global network and kind of offering that into the global network of WPP for kind of retaining that and building that and championing that. We've talked about the future workforce. And I think in terms of problem solving, we can solve problems we don't even know how to solve at this point in time. So I'm not putting media in the same bracket as medical technology, although in COVID we saw what happened to the economy when people stopped buying stuff. But, you know, it's developed, you know, AI is unearthing, you know, cancer treatments, cancer type of diagnoses that didn't exist in the past. I think we're going to start seeing insights into media and advertising that is going to help our humans kind of take it potentially to the next level. And sorry, I'm 2 minutes under, so that's a thank you from me. I don't know if we've got any questions, but no, we haven't. No. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Paul.